What happens when evil hides behind the face of family? What if the greatest danger wasn't an enemy outside the kingdom, but someone inside the palace? King David had defeated giants, conquered nations, and established Israel as a mighty kingdom. But while the kingdom prospered, darkness was quietly growing inside his own household. This is the heartbreaking story of Amnon and Tamar, a tale of deception, betrayal, silence, and consequences that would tear David's family apart forever. Stay until the end, because what happened next would ignite one of the bloodiest chapters in Israel's history. After King David established his kingdom, peace seemed to rest upon Israel. The wars had quieted, the borders were secure, the palace in Jerusalem was filled with princes and princesses, the children of Israel's greatest king. Among them was Tamar. Tamar was known throughout the kingdom for her grace, kindness, and remarkable beauty. She was the daughter of King David and Maacah, making her a true princess of Israel. She carried herself with dignity, clothed in the richly embroidered robe reserved for the king's virgin daughters, a symbol of honor and purity. She was deeply loved by her full brother, Absalom, who watched over her with the protective care of an older brother. But another member of the royal family watched Tamar from a distance. His name was Amnon. Amnon was David's firstborn son. As the eldest prince, everyone expected that one day he would inherit the throne of Israel. He had wealth, he had servants, he had influence. Yet instead of guarding his heart, Amnon allowed an unhealthy desire to grow within him. Day after day, he thought about Tamar. Because she was his half-sister, God's law forbade any relationship between them. But instead of rejecting those thoughts, Amnon fed them. The more he imagined her, the stronger his obsession became. Soon, it consumed him completely. He became restless. He stopped enjoying life. His appetite disappeared. His servants noticed that something was terribly wrong. The prince who should have been preparing to lead the kingdom now spent his days shut away, growing weaker with every passing moment. But hidden desires never remain hidden forever. One man noticed the change. His name was Jonadab. Jonadab was Amnon's cousin, the son of David's brother, Shemaiah. The Bible describes him as a very crafty man. He was clever, but not wise. One day he approached Amnon and asked, "Why are you, the king's son, becoming thinner every day? Won't you tell me what's troubling you?" At first, Amnon hesitated. Then he revealed the secret that had been consuming his heart. "I am in love with Tamar." Jonadab listened carefully. Instead of correcting Amnon, instead of reminding him of God's commands, instead of urging him to turn away from his sinful desire, he devised a dangerous plan. He said, "Go to bed and pretend to be sick. When your father comes to see you, ask him to send Tamar to prepare food for you. Tell him you will only eat if she serves you herself." Amnon listened. Instead of resisting temptation, he embraced deception. Soon he lay in bed, pretending to be seriously ill. News quickly reached King David. Concerned for his eldest son, David visited Amnon to see what was wrong. The worried father stood beside his son's bed. Amnon spoke with a weak voice. "Please let my sister Tamar come and prepare some food for me. Then perhaps I will eat." David suspected nothing. He saw only a sick son asking for comfort. Without hesitation, the king sent word to Tamar. "Go to your brother Amnon's house and prepare food for him." Faithfully, Tamar obeyed. She had no reason to fear. She trusted her father's instruction. She trusted her family. She entered Amnon's house carrying the dignity expected of a princess. Inside, Amnon lay on his bed as though too weak to stand. She gathered the ingredients she would need: a small sack of fine flour, fresh olive oil, and a clay jar of water. A woven basket rested gently against her arm as she carefully arranged everything inside. Dressed in the beautifully embroidered robe reserved for the king's virgin daughters, Tamar took one last look around her chamber before stepping into the palace corridor. The halls of King David's palace were alive with quiet activity. Royal servants hurried about their duties. Guards stood watch beside towering cedar doors. The warm morning sun streamed through carved stone windows, casting golden patterns across the polished floors. As Tamar walked, the soft sound of her sandals echoed through the long corridors. She greeted passing servants with a gentle smile, unaware that this ordinary journey would become the most painful day of her life. She descended the broad stone staircase leading from the royal residence into the palace courtyard. The fragrance of olive trees drifted through the air as birds circled high above Jerusalem. Everything around her reflected the peace and prosperity of King David's kingdom. Crossing the courtyard, Tamar passed royal gardens filled with blooming flowers and carefully tended vines. Palace attendants respectfully stepped aside as the young princess continued on her way. Beyond the main palace stood the royal residences where the king's sons lived. Tamar followed the familiar stone pathway toward Amnon's house, her basket carefully balanced in her hands. She believed she was simply bringing comfort to an ailing brother. She had no reason to suspect otherwise. With each step, she drew closer to Amnon's residence. The morning remained calm, the city remained peaceful, but hidden behind one closed door, a carefully planned deception was already waiting. At last, Tamar arrived at the entrance of Amnon's house. Taking a quiet breath, she approached the doorway, ready to prepare a meal for the brother she believed was sick, completely unaware that her life was about to change forever. Tamar immediately went to work. She mixed the dough with her own hands. She kneaded it carefully. She shaped the cakes. She baked them before him, just as he had requested. The aroma filled the room. Everything was prepared with kindness. Everything was done in innocence. But Amnon had never wanted the food. The meal was only part of the trap. Then he gave a strange command. "Send everyone out." One by one, every servant left the room. The doors closed. Silence filled the house. Only Amnon and Tamar remained. Still unaware of his true intentions, Tamar picked up the prepared food and carried it toward her brother. Then Amnon spoke again. "Bring the food into my bedroom so I may eat from your hand." Without suspicion, Tamar entered. She stepped into the private room carrying the meal. As she came close, everything changed. Instead of reaching for the food, Amnon suddenly grabbed her. His true intentions were revealed. Startled, Tamar tried to pull away. She immediately understood the danger she was in. With wisdom and desperation, she pleaded with him. "No, my brother, don't force me. Such a thing should never be done in Israel. Don't commit this disgraceful act." She reminded him of God's standards. She reminded him of their family. She reminded him of the shame such an act would bring upon both of them. She cried, "What about me? Where could I carry my disgrace? And what about you? You would be considered one of the fools in Israel." Still hoping to stop him, Tamar urged him, "Please speak to the king. He will not withhold me from you." Whether she believed David would actually permit such a marriage or was simply trying to gain time, the Bible does not say. Her only concern was escaping the terrible situation. She reasoned, she pleaded, she begged, she appealed to his conscience. She appealed to God's law. She appealed to his future. But obsession cannot hear wisdom. When desire is allowed to rule the heart, reason loses its voice. Amnon had crossed a line long before Tamar entered the room. The moment he accepted Jonadab's plan, the moment he chose deception, his heart had already surrendered to sin. Now there was no turning back. The Bible tells us that Amnon refused to listen to Tamar. He ignored every warning. He rejected every appeal. Because he was stronger than she was, he overpowered her and violated her. In a single terrible moment, trust was broken. Innocence was stolen. A royal family was forever changed. The palace that should have been a place of safety became the place of unimaginable sorrow. What had begun as hidden desire had ended in devastating sin. Sin always promises satisfaction, but it never delivers. It always destroys more than it offers. The consequences had only begun. King David did not yet know what had happened. Absalom had not yet heard his sister's cries. Justice had not yet been sought. Revenge had not yet entered anyone's heart. But from this moment forward, nothing inside David's family would ever be the same again. The seeds of deception had now been planted, and soon they would grow into a harvest of grief. Ending one sinful decision had shattered the peace of Israel's royal family. What happened after this heartbreaking moment would ignite bitterness, silence, revenge, and bloodshed inside King David's own household. Would Tamar ever receive justice? How would King David respond when he learned the truth? And what would Absalom do when he discovered what had happened to his beloved sister? Those answers await in the next chapter of this tragic story.